Something big happened. One of the most loved hip-hop stars from the 90s, Heavy D, passed away yesterday. His real name was Dwight Arrington Myers. Heavy D was writing a book before he died. So was Kim Porter. I'll Be Sure was filming a documentary about his life. Did you know there are poisons that can copy heart attack or pneumonia symptoms? They told us it was a natural death, a health issue, just bad timing. But something about Heavy D's death never made sense. When you look at who he was with and what he was working on, the story starts feeling different. Want to know what they all had in common? The ones who are gone and those who survived from Uptown Records. They were all working on books that told secrets. Heavy D had just returned to the spotlight. He gave a performance no one could forget. Then, just a few days later, he was gone. Heavy D was a legend in hip-hop. Right after his death, people began whispering quietly about pressure, about being silenced, about what it cost to step away. Then, slowly, the people closest to one of music's biggest empires began to disappear, until only one man was left standing. Has Puffy ever ended up in a coma? Has anything bad ever happened to him? He must be the luckiest man alive because almost everyone from the early Uptown Records days is now gone. Was it all just a strange coincidence? Or is there something deeper we're not seeing? Something they don't want us to ask about? Something they really hope we never find out? They said Heavy D died from a pulmonary embolism, a sudden blood clot in the lungs. They called it a freak event after a long plane ride. That's the story we were told in November 2011, when Heavy D collapsed outside his Beverly Hills condo. But if you really look at the details, the timing, the people, the patterns, that story doesn't hold up. What's left is a trail of secrets, lies, and silence. Heavy D had just performed live in London for a Michael Jackson tribute. It was his first live show in 15 years. It was meant to be his big return. Fans were excited to see him again. Just weeks earlier, he had lit up the Bet Hip Hop Awards with his hit songs. He was full of life, joy, and energy. He was dancing, smiling, glowing. "Leave it up to me," he rapped. "I'll shut the whole store down for you." But just days after that show, he was dead. The Los Angeles coroner said he died from a blood clot, probably formed during his flight home from London. He also had heart disease and was reportedly dealing with pneumonia, though they said it didn't cause his death. There was some cough syrup in his body, but not enough to matter. That's the official version, neat, medical, and logical. But for many people in the music world, that story didn't make sense. Not the timing, not how fast it happened, not the way it reminded them of other strange deaths tied to Uptown Records. Heavy D was writing a book before he passed. Kim Porter was too, and so was I'll Be Sure. Heavy D's book, they said, was going to expose big names, including Diddy. Think that sounds like a stretch? Then consider this. Andre Harrell, founder of Uptown Records, and the man who gave Heavy D his start, died of a heart attack too. Kim Porter, Diddy's ex and close friend, also died from pneumonia-like symptoms. Kim's early coroner report allegedly said it was a homicide, but that was later changed quietly. Then there's I'll Be Sure, another Uptown Records artist. Right after he hinted at a documentary, he ended up in a coma. He only woke up recently. So that's for people Heavy D, Kim Porter, Andre Harrell, and I'll Be Sure, all connected to the same label, all tied to the same circle, all connected to the same man, and all were either writing, preparing to speak out, or stepping back into the public eye. When you lay it all out, the questions get louder. What really happened to Heavy D? Because this isn't just another celebrity tragedy. This was a man who had changed his life, lost over 135 pounds, became a father, took on executive roles, turned down shady business even when the money was big. He was cautious, focused, and strong. Then, suddenly, he was gone. Just like that, collapsed at 44 years old after a successful concert with big projects in motion. No drug history, no red flags. The official report blames his body. But insiders say it might have been something else. When Jaguar Wright spoke up, the whispers turned into flames. Right after the news broke, the media rushed to explain it away. A blood clot, they said, caused by flying. But people didn't buy it. When someone that full of life dies so suddenly, questions come fast. The first rumors? Life insurance. Some insiders whispered about secret policies, big ones, with major payouts for certain people. If Heavy D was gone, he had money, music royalties, a Beverly Hills condo, and more than that, he knew secrets. He wasn't just a rapper, he was an executive, someone who knew where the bodies were buried. Then came darker theories. People believed he was poisoned, that the blood clot was fake, that someone had given him something that caused his symptoms but left no trace. Jaguar Wright wasn't the only one who said it. But she was the loudest. She warned people like Heavy D, don't die by accident when they're about to drop a tell-all. They said it. There are poisons that can fake a heart attack or pneumonia. Other theories spread too. Some said he overdosed or had a secret addiction. But the toxicology reports said no illegal drugs, just some cough syrup, no alcohol, nothing. To support those rumors, yet people still whispered. Some said maybe it was medical neglect, that help came too late, that EMTs delayed, that the care he got wasn't good enough. There was no full investigation into the emergency response, but mix that with everything else and it adds more smoke to the fire. Then came emotional theories, stress, burnout, pressure, people said. The industry crushed him. That the smile on stage hid deep exhaustion. That the same industry he once helped build was now turning on him. Other rumors went to the streets. Maybe Heavy D reconnected with people from his early days. People who didn't want him to rise again. People who felt betrayed or abandoned, and finally some said he was hiding health issues. That maybe he or his family knew something was wrong but didn't tell anyone. Maybe because of pride, maybe out of fear, maybe because weakness in this business is dangerous. But what really made all these theories explode? The pattern. Heavy D wasn't the only one from Uptown Records who died strangely. He wasn't the only one close to Diddy who suddenly passed. And he wasn't the only one writing a book. At some point, these aren't coincidences anymore, because nearly everyone from Uptown's early days is gone. Heavy D, Kim Porter, Andre Harrell, gone. Al B. Sharolmost, gone. They're all connected by one label, one legacy, and one man who's still here, Diddy. Was it just the music industry? Was it just bad luck? Or is there something darker? Something done on purpose? Because from here on out, it gets harder to ignore the biggest question in the room. Diddy. We can't talk about Heavy D's death without talking about Diddy. Not just because they worked together, not just because they both came from Uptown Records, but because every time someone close to Diddy dies in a strange way, his name always comes up. Let's look at the facts. Heavy D wasn't just another artist signed to Uptown. He was part of the foundation. He helped build the label's name in the late 80s and early 90s. Asterisk, he wasn't just talent, he had real power. He helped shape the label. When Andre Harrell gave a young intern named Sean Combs a shot, it was Heavy D who reportedly vouched for him. Without Heavy D, there might not even be a Diddy. That's how strong their bond was. But what happens when the student becomes the master? Diddy's rise came at a price. Many of the people who helped him, they faded away. They disagreed with how he handled power. Jaguar Wright didn't sugarcoat it. She said it straight. Heavy D was working on a tell-all book. So was Andre Harrell. So was Kim Porter. All of them died under strange circumstances. Even Al B. Sharolmost, who was working on a documentary, suddenly ended up in a coma. In 2022, out of nowhere, and again, it all connects back to Diddy. Now, it's true that Heavy D and Diddy weren't close in the final years, but they still had unfinished business personally and professionally. In his last few years, Heavy D became fully independent. He started his own label, took full control of his music, turned down big offers from major labels. He didn't want to play their game anymore. And in this business, stepping away like that can be dangerous, because power and control mean everything. To know what all the survivors and the ones who passed had in common? They were all writing tell-all books. According to Jaguar and others, Heavy D was about to speak out about Uptown Records, about the music industry, and about Diddy, and if that's even partly true, then his death wasn't just sad. It was strategic. What makes it even worse? No one from Diddy's team ever made a strong public statement about Heavy D's death. No tribute that matched their long history. No real public grieving, just silence. Cold, eerie silence. Like it never happened. And then there's Kim Porter, the mother of Diddy's children. She also died of pneumonia. But according to Jaguar Wright and others close to the family, the first coroner's report said her death was a homicide, that toxins were found in her body. That report quietly changed, and the media just moved on. Kim, like Heavy D, was reportedly working on a memoir, something that may have shown the world who Diddy really was, but she never finished it at this point. It's not about conspiracy, it's about a pattern. People tied to Diddy try to speak up, and they die before they can dot. Jaguar Wright keeps asking the same question. Why doesn't anything ever happen to Diddy? He's always surrounded by tragedy, people dying, disappearing, or suddenly falling out of the spotlight. But he's still standing, richer than ever, more powerful than ever, throwing huge parties, hosting award shows, living like nothing can touch him. But lately, that shield is starting to crack. Lawsuits, witnesses speaking out, old videos resurfacing. People are starting to put the puzzle pieces together. The legacy that once looked perfect now, it's full of cracks. And it's not just about death, it's how people behave around Diddy. The fear, the strange stories, the silence, the pain you can't see, but you can feel. Heavy D's death might have been ruled natural, but the things connected to it aren't. Before all the rumors, before the gossip, Heavy D was creating something real, something full of love and positivity. His music made people feel good. His lyrics were clean. In a world full of gangsta rap and beef, Heavy D was different. He stayed true to who he was. He was born Dwight Arrington Myers in Jamaica and raised in Mount Vernon, New York. He wasn't your typical rapper, not flashy, not loud or aggressive. He was kind, funny, full of joy. And that energy was in every song he made. Heavy D and the boys dropped 5 albums under Uptown Records. Hits like We Got Our Own Thing, Somebody For Me, and Now That We Found Love. Those songs still move crowds. But Heavy D didn't just rap, he made history. He became the first rapper to run a major label, Uptown Records. He helped launch artists like Jodici, Soul for Real, even Sean Diddy Combs himself. He later moved up again, becoming a senior vice president at Universal Music. He had done it all: artist, executive, hitmaker, and then, in 2000, he became a father. His daughter Zia was born to celebrity chef Antonia Lofaso. She became his whole world. Heavy D changed his priorities. He focused on family, lost 135 pounds, even tried acting, appearing on TV shows like Boston Public, Law & Order, SVU, and The Tracy Morgan Show. He didn't leave music because he failed. He left because he had grown. He once told Consciousness magazine that he had plenty of songs locked away, but he wouldn't release anything unless it felt right. His brother Floyd, who managed him, said Heavy D turned down huge offers if the deals didn't feel clean. Still, the love for music came back. In 2008, Heavy D released a album called Vibes. It earned him another Grammy nomination. Then, in September 2011, just 2 months before his death, he dropped Love Opus under his own label, Stride Entertainment. He was finally in charge again. He told Billboard, "I'm the captain of my own ship." He was ready for a second chapter, more performances, a book, a new future. But on November 8, 2011, it all ended. On November 8, 2011, Heavy D collapsed outside his Beverly Hills condo. He was rushed to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. That day, doctors pronounced him dead. Just like that, he was gone. Only 44 years old. But the real heartbreak didn't end there, because what came next wasn't just sadit, was betrayal, and not from strangers, but from his own family. In May 2013, about a year and a half after Heavy D's death, his brother Floyd filed legal papers to take over Heavy D's estate. Floyd said there was a will dated June 23, 1999. In that will, everything was left to Floyd. Nothing for Heavy D's daughter. Nothing for his parents. Just Floyd. The will was signed and notarized, but it was written before Heavy D's daughter Zia was even born. At first, no one fought it, not even Zia's mom, Antonia. The family agreed Floyd would manage things. For now, and all the money, royalties, pensions, Social Security would go to Zia once she was older. But that's not how it went. Floyd sold the Beverly Hills condo for $1.7 million. After paying the mortgage and fees, the estate got $140,000. Floyd, as Konar, got $140,000 to Zia. She only got $17,000, And Floyd didn't stop there. He paid himself $20,000 for managing the estate. He also used estate money to buy appliances, pay bills, and cover personal expenses. The court had already said no to those kinds of payments. It didn't take long for Antonia to feel something was off. She asked to see the records. What she found was shocking. Over $100,000 had vanished. No explanation. No clear paper trail. Floyd was treating the estate like his own bank account, even though he owned just half the condo. He was using all the estate's money, and barely anything was going to his niece in March 2020. The court had seen enough. A judge removed Floyd as executor. He was ordered to hand over all the estate, records, and remaining money. Antonia was made the new manager. She now ensures that Zia receives 100% of her father's royalties and long-term assets. Heavy D's death already robbed the world of a legend, but this court fight nearly robbed his daughter of her future. And when you put all the pieces together, the strange death, the missing money, the silence from people who once praised him, you're left with one painful question. Did someone want Heavy D gone, not just to shut him up, but to take what he left behind? There's one thing everyone agrees on. Heavy D didn't look like a man who was dying. He looked better than he had in years. He was leaner, happier, more confident. After nearly a decade away from music, he stepped back into the spotlight with something to prove, and something still left to say. In October 2011, just 1 month before his death, Heavy D gave his last performance, a powerful medley, at the BET Hip Hop Awards. For fans, it felt like a homecoming. He smiled, he danced, he rapped. He owned the stage like he'd never left. Just a few weeks earlier, he had flown to London. He performed at a huge Michael Jackson tribute concert. It was a massive moment. He did interviews. He was in talks for new projects. He was building again. Then came the flight home. Doctors say long flights raise the risk of deep vein thrombosis. That's what the coroner blamed for the blood clot that killed him. But people close to Heavy D weren't convinced. He was active, focused on his health. And he was in the middle of creating something big like his book. On November 8, 2011, Heavy D collapsed. He never got up again. The world lost him. But what came after made the pain even worse. There were no big industry tributes, no justice for how his estate was handled, no final words from those who owed him everything, including Diddy. So maybe Heavy D didn't just die young. Maybe he was quietly erased, like so many others who tried to take back control, who wanted to leave behind more than just music. They wanted to leave behind truth, and truth always makes someone uncomfortable.